People say that the ancient Etruscans, Greeks, and Romans would wear togas, and that all you have to do to dress like one is to wrap a bedsheet around yourself and tie a rope around your waist for a belt. I resent that. How would the designs of the Middle Ages have come to be if the Romans couldn't sew? The Romans assimilated the Hellenic world and made it their own, including clothes. So, if I really want variety, I've got to look what the Greeks were wearing. I had been looking for a chiton or a peplos, the basic garments of ancient Greek clothing, and this beautiful chiton by Åsa Peterson, author of FashionThroughHerStory.com, appeared after a long internet search. This was the first modern-made piece that I had seen that actually resembled the artworks that I had pored through. It flows over the body, it hangs down and not out, it blouses well while sharing intimate body contours without creating bulk. And Peterson got this effect by using polyester charmeuse. They didn't have polyester back then, though. The types of fabric they had available way back when were leather, wool, linen, silk, and cotton. Silk is the most highly likely choice for sculptors and artists to have represented, since it is assumed that most representations were made on behalf of the wealthy. But will silk really move the way I want it to? Looking at this royalty-free stock footage, I think so. Let's look at the claim that Roman women copied the style of the ancient Greeks and Etruscans. Well, here is a truly ancient Etruscan. This is Seanti Hanunia Tlesnasa, rather, it is her sarcophagus. The reason I'm using her tomb as a model is because the original paint is still intact, with details on her clothing. She is wearing a chiton, belted above the waist, and a veil or wrap of some kind. In Greece it would be called a himation. It was really disappointing to realize that yes, most Greek and Roman garments can be made easily with just a single piece of fabric. It felt like a defeat. I knew I had seen some really detailed photos and artworks, and I had been dead certain that there was more to recreating this stuff than just having fun with a bedsheet. At the very least, on her right side, our left, you'll see the thin red border in a position where we would put a side seam. You can also see that her chiton has a band around the shoulder fabric, gathering fullness at the front while still maintaining a dignified neckline. But this isn't the only type of chiton that there is. For example, you can see that here it is Aphrodite's undergarment. You can see the intricate detail with which her chiton is sculpted and how closely it follows the details of her body. If you look more closely at her shoulder and arm, you'll notice that the fabric is smooth along her upper arm and falling like water between her underarm and her hip. This was a lot of very, very thin, finely woven, fluid fabric that hung closely to the body, hugging its curves while accidentally slipping off of shoulders. By comparison, Seanti's dress is firmly planted at her shoulder and strictly pleated to fall in only one way at any given time. These two chitons would be very easy to reproduce using just a length of expensive fabric. However, with Aphrodite's garment, we will never know if there was a pattern on it or what that pattern would have been. With Seanti, we could at least pretend that she had made the red ribbon and attached it to her dress. But how did the technology of sewing survive if the clothes were worn right off the loom? Did they do any sewing at all? A lot. In fact, Theocritus, in his 15th Idyll from the 3rd century BC, wrote a scene of two friends gossiping. Proxinoa compliments Gorgo's pleated dress, which we see above. And after bemoaning the cost, Gorgo says, "I put my heart into the handwork." This suggests that women did a lot of embroidery and possibly shaping on their clothes after buying the fabric, and discussed sewing with friends and relatives frequently. In addition, the 15th Idyll also mentions putting on a cloak over a dress that is worn only indoors. On page 284 of the source book, Women's Life in Ancient Greece and Rome, in the records of offerings to Artemis at Brauron in the 4th century BC, there is a list of dresses offered to the goddess and details on their decoration. At this point, I also remembered that I could go to red figure pottery to find more depictions of women, and maybe more designs, so I looked up real images that came close to the description in the offering. They are as follows. 1. A dotted, sleeved tunic. 2. A short tunic, scalloped and embroidered with letters woven in. 3. Another dotted tunic. 4. A silken tunic. 5. A dotted robe. 6. An embroidered purple tunic. 7. A woman's girdle. 8. A white woman's cloak. 9. A frog green garment. 10. A woman's cloak with a broad purple border in a wave design. We know now how important it is to use a silk or silk-like fabric when attempting to copy an ancient design, and we know there is more to ancient women's clothing than just folding and pinning. Creases and folds had to be precisely set and sewn in. Not only did the Romans sew, they created a variety of different types of clothing. Historic Roman dresses found in sculpture and fresco often favor the style of seante, whereas greater variety and difficulty are found among Greek relics. This is the end of Part 1. Part 2 will include discussion on the calculation of how much fabric to use, what types of tools are needed, and how to shape a pattern. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.